hard to believe that it took till my early 50s before I was asked to lecture at Harvard University. My videographer asked me to lecture, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Please do.
I appreciate being invited to Harvard to lecture. But what I wanted to lecture on was education and the cost of education, because FMCC is probably considered a substitute good, Fulton Montgomery Community College education compared to Harvard University. Normal goods, as your income rises, you would spend more on that. So Harvard education, of course, costs a lot of money, and if you had the income, you might do that. But if you don't have the income for a Harvard education, you might consider something like Fulton Montgomery Community College, which, technically speaking, from an economic point of view, is called an inferior good, because as your income gets lower, you choose to buy more FMCC and less of Harvard. But the irony, we could talk about the substitution effect, because the irony here is algebra taught at Harvard isn't any different than algebra taught at FMCC. So if you had less money, you should substitute in the same way that we substitute margarine for butter. So if you were tight on money and you wanted to get an education, you would go to FMCC if you didn't have the income as compared to Harvard. But it's really kind of interesting, because what are you buying at Harvard? You're buying an education that says Harvard University, and that, when you walk into the room and say, I'm a Harvard-educated graduate, they're going to think a lot differently from you than if you said that you were an FMCC or a Hudson Valley Community College graduate. So the end of the result is, if you're buying an education, learning at FMCC is going to be just as good as learning at Harvard, if that's what you're buying. But the truth of the matter is, when we're buying college degrees, many of us aren't buying education. They're really buying a piece of paper that says, I went to Harvard. And as you can tell from this video, I too went to Harvard. And now, here I've even lectured at Harvard. I'm just going to read that plaque later. I don't have time to read it now because I'm in the middle of a lecture.
Right.
So I'm standing in front of the statue of John Harvard. It's actually called the Statue of Three Lies. The three lies are, first of all, it's not actually John Harvard. Second lie is it says that this was he was the founder of Harvard University, and it says the year like 1636, but he didn't actually found it then. Here in front of the Occupy Harvard movement, what I really want to talk about is the Khan Academy. If you've ever been there, khanacademy.org I think is the website, and anything you want to learn is not available yet at Khan Academy, but it's growing. Videos, 5 minutes, 10 minutes at a time. So if you were to study algebra or calculus, you can go watch some videos there, and from that you can watch them over and over again until you learn that material. So if what you wanted is an education, you could come to a place like Harvard and spend $50,000 a year, or you could log on to khanacademy.org or many other sites just like it and learn that same information at a much cheaper price. So the question is, why would somebody actually, if they can get the exact same substitute good, the education, if the education is an equivalent commodity, why would you go to Harvard when you could go someplace much cheaper? And the answer is that the education may be the same, but the value is different, because that little piece of paper that says that you went to Harvard University is worth a lot more than the piece of paper, or the lack of paper, where you say, I did learn calculus. I learned it from some website somewhere. So, free library here. I can't wait to take part of that here, because that's a price I really like. And then, when I get done with my vacation here at Harvard, my lecture here, that's right, this is my second lecture at Harvard. And from that, I'm going to go home and log on to YouTube, and I'm going to learn how to paint. And I think maybe I'll paint the beautiful sunset here over Harvard University. Sounds great.